This project brought to you by Diet Coke. Cool, refreshing, very zesty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bob's Garage. Today, all we gotta do is fill up all the fluids. So, trans fluid, oil, coolant, and after that, then we're gonna fabricate the mid pipes today. So, stay tuned and let's have some fun. Okay, so here it is in person. This is the Airlift System. I wanted to show you all how this works. This is your pressure gauge, or I should say vacuum gauge. It comes with a bunch of different adapters that allow you to screw this into your coolant overflow tank or reservoir tank. If you have an older car, you screw this, I believe, right into where your, well, you can put it right where your radiator cap goes. But there's all kinds of different adapters that come with it. So then we got this guy here, which has just a long hose on it. And this is what we use to actually draw the vacuum on the system. So we're going to tap this into here. Oh, we'll go like this actually. This end goes in here. Okay. Then up here, this is where we just hook our normal air line from our air compressor. And what this is doing right now is it's shooting air through this line and out the other end of this tube that we just have draped over the side of the car. And at the same time, it's drawing a vacuum. So here we go. And what we'll do is I'm going to turn on my air compressor. So I turned it off so you wouldn't hear it running. But the beauty of this system is, if this will not hold a vacuum, then you know you have some sort of a leak or something wrong with your coolant system. So a coolant system is obviously normally under pressure. So this kind of works on the opposite idea or premise of it draws a vacuum on the coolant system. And likewise, if it can hold pressure, it should be able to hold a vacuum. So you can kind of see here now it's really starting to pick up. I might have enough air in my tank that I don't need to turn on my air compressor. So it just passed 5 psi of vacuum. And I want to see, you're supposed to go about 15 or 20. I actually don't know if I have this screwed on tight. You can see it's not making a good seal. So, and like I said, this is the clear coolant line, or air line running over here. And then the next step is to fill it with the coolant. So this is my bucket of 50-50 coolant mix. And it's 50% G12 coolant and 50% cold distilled water. You have to use cold water because we all know Hondas use hot water. So we don't want to be with those guys. So. Can't hear you. What? It's hanging in the closet, in the coat closet on the right side, where it always is. Okay, I got all the fluids in except the trans, and then we're going to try to do a test fire and see if she starts up and what kind of arrows we get. Here goes nothing. Alright, so that's about it. We're in the closing stretch here. So, got the whole front end back on, and no surprises there, no problems there. Everything's lined up, everything's back in place. The only thing I have left to do are install my little decorative covers on top. I already got all the trim, all the seals on there. And I've just been starting the car here and there to make sure all the fluids are good, topping everything off. So I topped off the oil, the coolant, as well as the power steering fluid. One thing that sucks is I had the cap for the power steering fluid reservoir sitting on the ground, and I wasn't paying attention, and I stepped on it. So when I stepped on it, I broke off the little dipstick tube. But that's not too big of a deal. You can just shine a flashlight down in the fill hole and see where the markings line up with the fluid level on the side of the reservoir. So I'll probably pick up a used one off of eBay if I come across one. Otherwise, no big deal. So what else is left? I just got to do the reinstall the wiper blades, and then the last major thing is I got to pump in and top off the transmission fluid. So I was originally going to flush the trans fluid, and I'm not going to do that right now. The reason why is I think I'm going to install a transmission cooler. I don't want to have to deal with those lines going back into the radiator anymore. So I'll probably pick up that JHM trans cooler kit that's designed for the V6, V7, S4. I don't see why it wouldn't work on my V5 S4. So I might have to get different size barbs or something, but so what I'll do is I'll just top it off, double check everything's good, and I'll do the flush and all that once I get that trans cooler. What else? So I'm still running the stage 1 ECU. I'm just gonna keep it stage 1 for now. Make sure there's no codes, no check engine lights, nothing like that, and then I'll bump up the boost and all that. So I don't want to swap the chips and then have some sort of problem that I can't figure out. So make sure everything's good at stage 1 and then bring up the boost. So I'm gonna get under the car. It's hot as hell today. It's 90 degrees out in the sun, and I don't know what temperature it is in the garage here. So it's freaking hot. So I'm gonna jack the car up, put it on jack stands, try to get it level, crack the fill port for the transmission, and I got tons and tons of trans fluid. I have like 15 quarts of trans fluid, so it shouldn't be too bad to do. And when I look under the car, the only thing that was leaking under the car was there was a puddle of oil on the passenger side downpipe. So that, I assume, is just from the car sitting for a few more days again, oil leaking out of that turbo. So that I already knew about. So yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. So after I get the trans fluid topped off, I'm gonna take it on a test drive and with wide open downpipes. So that'll be fun. It's loud. It's really loud, but it'll be fun. So, and then after I get the trans fluid topped off, then I can start fabricating the mid pipes. So that'll be fun. That'll be a process. So let's get this trans fluid in, and that should do it for now. So I don't think I'm gonna do a video of me topping off the transmission fluid. What it is, it's just a So this is for a Tiptronic car, but it's a 17 millimeter hex bolt. So there's two, I guess, ports or holes on the bottom of the trans for a Tiptronic. One is for draining it, and it's a smaller hex, and then this 17 millimeter is for filling it. And basically all you do is you crack that off, remove it, and then you shove a pump, like a little tube from your pump, up into that hole, and then you pump from your quart bottles, you pump it up into the transmission, and you just keep adding fluid until it starts overflowing and coming out. It's not very scientific. What I'll do is when I do the flush and the filter change, the transmission filter change, I'll do a in-depth video showing all that, and once I drop the pan, you'll be able to see a little bit more in terms of how the fill port works, and it's kind of cool once you have the pan dropped. But I'm not gonna drop the pan now. I'm kind of getting sick of working on this thing. Just want to get it back together. Just want to drive it, enjoy it, go cruising in the summer here. So, and I still got my work cut out with me for these for these mid pipes. These mid pipes I'm gonna have to fabricate. All I got is basically a cutoff wheel. So I gotta trim and cut all these exhaust pieces and parts with just a cutoff wheel. So it's gonna take some time, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I just wish it wasn't so damn hot. So stay tuned, and yeah, I'm excited. It started up. I don't have any check engine lights. It doesn't look like I have any codes. I'm not, you know, reaping the full benefits of stage 2 yet until I swap out the ECU, but that shouldn't be any problems as long as the ECU is okay. So I'm excited. So all right, transmission top off time, and then we'll go for a ride. Alright, so I just learned another thing. So I was just going to top off the trans fluid. So I get the car all jacked up, I get under there, I pop the 17 millimeter hex, and fluid's coming out. I'm like, well, I know I lost a lot of trans fluid when I pulled the lines, but like, I don't know, maybe the trans fluid's never been flushed, it's like super full from the factory or something. So I was like, I don't know. So, you know, I corked it back up. So let me give my buddy from Audi a call and ask him about this. Because I was like, I wanted to take it on a test drive. He's like, no. You have to fill the transmission at operating temperature. So what he said to do is let the car run for 3 to 5 minutes or so until the transmission pan is warm to the touch, and then open that fill port. Which makes sense now that I think about it. The only problem is I don't have mid pipes right now. So if I want to fire up the car to operating temp and then, you know, work on pumping fluid into the trans, I'm basically going to have open downpipes firing right into my frickin' face. So, looks like I'm going to fabricate some mid pipes right about now. Okay. So we'll get the mid pipes all in place, and then I'll top off the trans, and then the car will be done. So, pretty straightforward. I got all the exhaust pieces that I need. Excuse me. 2.5 inch. I picked up a bunch of 45-degree bends. So the downpipe's about here. The catback is about here. And then I picked up a 45 to go here, and a 45 to go here. And then the two pieces will actually just connect, but I need to cut them so that the once they're connected, the two 45s will line up with the catback and the downpipe. So the pipes will just almost be doing like a small S curve, and pretty straightforward. I kind of wish I had some sort of a bigger saw. I do have a sawzall. I might be able to get by with a sawzall to cut these exhaust pieces. That might be faster than a cutoff tool and safer. So I'll let you know how this goes, and I'll probably just do some short videos showing it. But yeah, so stay tuned. Alright, here's the extent of what we're going to be doing with the exhaust system here. So these are my 45 degrees. Yes, they're not mandrel bent. Whatever. I don't. At this point, this is just going to be a learning experience in how to weld. Everything's 2.5 inch. These are 45s, so 4 45s. And then I got more than just one of these, but I got 4 of these pipes. I would say each one of these pieces was about $7. So I probably got, I don't know, less than $50 in exhaust pieces here, which ain't too bad, I guess. I would spend probably a couple $100 to get some mid pipes fabricated at a shop. These are going to connect to my downpipes. I wish this was more mild steel. It almost looks like stainless. So I don't know how it's going to be welding to this. I might just use some pipe clamps. So this, I was figuring, can go inside of here. And it's a pretty tight fit. I could probably cut some notches in here and then just use a pipe clamp to hold it on there rather than trying to weld dissimilar metal. So these collectors or whatever should just bolt right up. I want to say these are adapters. I believe it's 2.5 inch to 2.25 inch adapter, but for what I'm doing, this should work well. I did buy these. I kind of wanted a little different ones, but these are spark plug anti-foulers, and I just wanted to screw my rear O2 sensors into these. So my idea behind this was just to kind of keep the rear O2 sensors clean, like keep the threads clean and all that, because they'll just be dangling. I'm not going to be using them, but they'll still be there in case I need them, or in case I go to stock or stage 1 tunes that require rear O2s. So what I was hoping or planning was to be able to weld this hole in the tip of this, so that way it's basically just a cap. So just capping off my rear O2s. So that's all we're looking at. And so these guys here fit into each other, kind of like that. And so it would be more or less like this. This end would connect to the cap back, and then it goes around and then lines up with the downpipes. Now these straights are too far away, too far apart. So what I'm gonna have to do is figure out where to trim this, so that way it'll move this whole piece further in and move this straight pipe further in to line up correctly. So if I can measure this twice and cut once, I should only have to make 2 cuts, at least on these 45. So one here, and then same for the other one. So it would be 1 cut, and then it should all line up. And then from there, all that remains is to figure out the lengths needed for these straight pipes. Now this is all basically like mild steel. So these were like $7 a piece. This is from AutoZone. They sell stainless steel pieces, which like each piece, if it was stainless steel version, would be like $20. So for mid pipes, whatever. You know, if these things start rusting out or whatever, I can you know, look into investing into better mid pipes or whatever. The thing is, eventually, you know, if I keep playing with this car or whatever, I'll probably go 3-inch exhaust. You know, I think back when all this was you know, popular, I should say modifying Tiptronic cars. Now modifying Tiptronic cars is not popular at all. But back in the day, everything was 2.5 inch. But since then, I think they made some leaps and advancements and fitment and all that. Now I've heard people running 3-inch downpipes and full exhaust on their tip cars. Usually in the past it was only available or possible on a manual car. So this is it is what it is. This will be way better than the stock downpipes and all that. But and even like this is a restriction. So those, I wish those could have been mandrel bent. I don't know what they would have cost to buy universal pieces already prefabricated mandrel bent, but I'm sure there would be more than $7. So yeah, so stay tuned. I got a Harbor Freight dollar or $100 welder, flex core welder, which I'm just gonna try to tack all this in place and go from there. So we'll see. I gotta go put the welder together, and then I can start having some fun and cutting these pieces to fit and everything else. So stay tuned, and yeah, I'll be back, and we'll start fabricating this up together. So thanks for your help.